Welcome everyone. Our video today is going to go in depth about all the aspects that might worry your mind if you're about to embark on a wonderful journey called a Vipassana retreat. We're going to look at everything I've learned over the years as somebody who sat on retreats, assisted on retreats, and taught on retreats. And I'm going to give you all of my understanding to help you ease your mind before the retreat and cruise through that retreat and get the maximum out of it. So, we're going to look at something called the monkey mind, okay? The busy mind, and how it might shock you at the beginning of the retreat and how to deal with that. We're going to look at expectations, a major hindrance for all meditators, no matter at what level you are going into the retreat. We're going to look at the dynamics of a Vipassana retreat. You can actually predict what people are going to go through if they actually do the practice as they're being taught throughout the retreat. We're going to look at these dynamics to prepare you for what's going to happen and to level things out. We're going to further level things out by looking at what's going to happen if you get your mind blown and you have some really exceptional, beautiful experiences, or if you're dipping in the other direction and you're really suffering from frustration and pain. So we're going to look at those two aspects and we're going to level them out so that your roller coaster ride that you're going to go on, inevitably, if you go on a Vipassana retreat, won't be quite as crazy. Okay? We're going to look at sleepiness, drowsiness, and I'm going to give you some advice how to deal with that. We're going to look at the aspects of continuity and equanimity and how these two aspects can become your best friend on a retreat and really help you out when things get a little bit difficult. We're going to look at the attitude that you have to go into a retreat and how you can use loving kindness to really look after yourself and cruise through the retreat. And last but not least, we're going to look at the magic understanding, if you like, that you can have going into retreat. If you can manage to understand that your thoughts actually create your reality, that understanding alone will help you get through so much and really help to counterbalance the ups and the downs that you're going to experience on a retreat. So, if you're looking into going to a retreat and your mind is still unsettled, you found the right video. One thing that meditators that are on a Vipassana retreat for the first time, almost all of them encounter is that shock of how crazy your mind really is. In everyday life, when you go about your business, you don't realize what happens in your mind and what kind of thoughts and what kind of things this process constantly repeats and makes you go into the future, it makes you go into the past, it loops through situations over and over and over again. Now, if you could, Michael Singer, a very famous American spiritual teacher, he said something really interesting once. He said, if you could take that voice in your mind and you could take it out and put it into another person and then spend some time with that person and that person would say what you actually think throughout the day, you would probably not manage to be around that person for longer than 10-15 minutes. You would say, that person is driving me crazy, I need to get away from him. Okay, that person is crazy. And the fact of the matter is, you are crazy. Okay? Because your mind is completely out of control. And that's what's creating all these problems in your life. Now, becoming aware that you are crazy is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Like so many insights that you might gain on a retreat, at first sight, it might be shocking. And you might not expect it, and you might think it's a negative thing. But it really is the first step towards gaining control over this insane process that's completely off the leash. So that initial shock that you might have, or you realize that this thing in my head, this voice in my head, is just constantly talking the same things, constantly judging, constantly evaluating, constantly trying to predict, or constantly trying to remember, that's actually a good thing. That's the first step towards understanding where your problem is. So to know that and to not be shocked and not to fight it, but to actually see it as an opportunity that you can really start to watch what's going on is what you need to be doing. A lot of people think that meditation is about quieting the mind, and that is partially true. A quiet mind is the foundation for a good meditation. Quieting the mind is not really meditating yet. It's setting yourself up to meditate. But to see how crazy your mind is and to see the patterns that your mind goes through, that gives you the first insights. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing. You're learning about yourself, and that's what meditation is all about. That's what Vipassana is all about. That's what the word Vipassana describes. To see reality as it truly is. Not how you want it to be, or not how you think it should be, or not how you might not even see it, be blind to it because you're distracting yourself, but actually just observing and have a look at what's going on. It's the first step for you to gain control. So, if you've got the monkey mind, that's a good thing. Congratulations. You're doing it right. It's part of the process. Now, what I also see a lot with meditators that come to a Vipassana retreat, if they've got a certain amount of experience, is that they too are shocked that their meditation is not working because their mind is too busy. They can't calm the mind. Now, understand that calming the mind, coming out of a real world scenario where you're working, you have relationships, you're indulging in media and entertainment, you have a lot of stimulation that is activating your mind. You're coming into a retreat in the exact opposite setting where everything is quiet, everybody is silent, there's no distractions, there's nothing to think about, there's nothing to achieve or to avoid. It's just you watching your mind. That transition is not going to happen within 1 hour. That transition takes time. The mind has momentum, and that momentum takes time to unwind. So while you're unwinding that momentum, yes, and you want to get it to a point where it gets stiller and stiller and stiller so that you can start to see what's beneath the surface, use the active mind to understand its nature. Okay? So it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's part of the process. And this is essential for you to understand. And a lot of experienced meditators come and they say on day 2, Mike, oh my goodness, I thought I could meditate. And now I'm sitting here and every session is a nightmare. Yes, that's how it is. Because when you consider yourself an experienced meditator, you might be meditating an hour or two a day, And if you can do that every day, then you are already in the top 1% of the regular meditators out there, and you can consider yourself experienced under those aspects. But going into retreat is a completely different story. Meditating 10, 11 hours a day is a whole different story and can't be compared to your practice that you've incorporated into your everyday life. So even if you are an experienced meditator, you're gonna be shocked by how busy your mind is. You're gonna be shocked how ineffective the meditation will be, because you think that you're gonna jump right in and it's gonna go straight through the roof. Maybe you've been meditating with guided meditations. If you come from that kind of a background, well, it's no wonder that you're going to be shocked by your monkey mind, because there's no one guiding you through the meditation. Okay? The whole idea behind Vipassana meditations is that you're not guided. There might be a little bit of a guide in the beginning, but essentially you're going to have to do it on your own. And that means facing the nature of your mind. And the nature of your mind is that it is crazy. Now, a really important aspect to understand is that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay? The mind's job is to think. That's what it's supposed to do. Your eyes see, your ears hear, your body feels, your nose smells, your heart beats, your cells divide, your lungs breathe, and it's all doing it by itself. It's a fascinating phenomenon. It's a fascinating process to observe. None of that is controlled by you. You can in part control aspects of it for a short period of time to a certain extent, but really the whole thing is doing it by itself. And it's the same thing for your mind. It's its job to think. It's your job as a meditator to look at what it's thinking, and eventually once you've seen what it's all thinking, because it's going to be the same stuff over and over and over again, to calm it down to a certain extent as far as you can, so that you can penetrate the deeper layers of your awareness, to tune down the distraction of a busy mind. So it's a good thing that the mind thinks. It's not a bad thing. It's just that it's out of control because you've never paid attention to it. So pay attention to it. Accept that you're crazy. Okay, everybody is. It's not a problem. Okay, and then watch it. Understand the patterns that are there and watch it become calmer and calmer over time. Don't let it shock you. Don't let it overwhelm you. Okay, so that's the first part, the monkey mind, the crazy mind. The second part is really connected to the monkey mind, as most of these aspects that I'm going to talk about are really connected with each other, and I'm going to cross-reference them. It's really difficult to single them out and just look at them as separate parts of difficult parts of a retreat you might run into. Really, they all bleed together and create a web of challenges that you're going to have to try to navigate on a retreat. So I'm going to do my best to single them out and to try to look at them separately, but we're going to have to also see how they work together. And one way that they work together is the expectations, are tightly connected to that shock that you're going to go through maybe when you experience the monkey mind. Of course, you expect that your mind's going to be calm, and you associate that with a good meditation. And so then, of course, you're going to get disappointed. Now, expectations are something, they're such a major hindrance on a Vipassana retreat. I've seen some very experienced, solid meditators. I'm talking about, people who live in meditation centers, who devote their lives to self-inquiry through meditation. I've seen these people break on retreats. I've seen them have nervous breakdowns because their expectations are so big, and also because a lot of these expectations are lingering underneath the surface of their awareness. There is that ego that thinks it is an advanced meditator. It is at a certain state of development with the practice. And then there is that really pulsing desire, that burning desire to achieve this major goal, whatever it is that's driving you into the retreat. Be it, you want to become a stream enterer, or you want to become enlightened, or you want to resolve a major issue that is holding you down in your life. You want to discover your life's purpose. You want to flower with wisdom because you think that that will make you special, or whatever it is. You want to resolve traumas, or resolve an addiction, resolve mental health issues. I mean, these are major issues in people's lives, and they're intricately connected to an expectation with which you come into the retreat. Everybody who comes into a retreat has an expectation. So this is essential that you understand that. And even if you told yourself that you don't have an expectation, that you've let go of that already, you probably are just fooling yourself. And you're going to get into deeper and deeper frustration levels on a retreat. I've seen it happen. Really experienced meditators sitting down thinking this is it. On this retreat, they're going to reach the next level, and then they sit there. And because they have an expectation, a very strong expectation, of course, their effort is driven by this stern determination to achieve this. And it needs to be achieved on this retreat. And of course, it needs to be achieved as soon as possible. And so they sit there with this strong determination, and they really try and force it. And that in itself is going to ruin everything. And then you're going to be frustrated. And then you're going to see other meditators around you, maybe who don't have as much experience as you do, maybe already get into the higher levels, into the deeper states of meditation. And of course, that's going to hit you, and it's going to make things even worse. And it's going to bring you to a point where you're either going to leave, which would be the wrong thing to do, or it's just going to break you, and you're going to resignate. And you're just going to sit it out like a little child that didn't get what it wanted. And you're going to blame yourself, and you're going to blame everybody else. And if you go through all of that and there's no one to blame anymore, at the end, boom, that's when you get your insights, because you've let go. So, a Vipassana retreat is all about letting go. And the first thing you have to let go are your expectations. You got to watch them very closely. You got to become very aware of what expectations you have. You have to be very honest with yourself. You have to really watch yourself and see what's going on. Are you on the lookout for that result that you've always wanted, that's been driving you into the retreat, that somebody talked to you about, that you've heard in some kind of a report of somebody's retreat, and that you want now for yourself? Are you looking for that constantly? Are you looking for something special? Okay, on a Vipassana retreat, you will get the best results if you're not looking for anything specific. You're not trying to achieve anything. You're not trying to avoid anything. You're not trying to manipulate anything. The only thing you should, the only expectation really that you should bring into a Vipassana retreat is the expectation to become a completely, fully neutral observer of whatever arises. If it be something subtle and almost or nothing at all for a while, or if it's something really big and unexpected. It doesn't matter. Is it positive? Is it negative? It does not matter. What matters is, can you remain neutral? And can you just observe what happens without wanting it to be anything specific? Now, this is something you need to train your mind to, because you might become blind to that once the retreat starts, because that desire is so strong. So really keep that in mind, and as soon as you see the first indication that you're waiting for something, that you're looking for something, often it's little things like, oh yeah, the body's starting to feel light, and immediately, oh, there it is. Okay, I'm getting it going, Here, the momentum was coming. What did I just do? I just need to do that a little bit more. As soon as that kind of a narrative unfolds in your mind, you need to step in. Whoa, okay, I can see what's going on. There's an expectation. There's a desire. There's me wanting it to be a specific way. No. Okay, this is where we tie into another aspect, which is equanimity. No. I'm going to stay neutral and come back to the practice. Whatever it is, whatever part of the technique you're practicing at that moment in the retreat. That takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of letting go. Just let go. Vipassana is all about letting go. We don't want to gain anything. In our everyday lives, we want to gain things. We want to manipulate our surrounding, and we want to create our own model of who we think we should be, so that we're the most successful and efficient in our lives. And we're juggling all of these things, manipulating them, creating, anticipating, planning, and in order to get what we think we need to be happy. So it's a constant wanting and not wanting. It's a constant pulling and pushing that's happening in our everyday lives, which of course is the main cause for our unhappiness. On a retreat like this, on a Vipassana retreat, we're going to do exactly the opposite. Spiritual practice in general is the opposite in almost all cases of what you do in your everyday life. Okay, this is very funny. Okay, so it's all about letting go. Out there you want, in the retreat, no, you don't want anymore. You just let go. That's not an easy thing to do. Okay, you need to prepare yourself mentally for that, and you need to be on the watch out for that throughout the retreat, so you can see these things unfold and step in before they gain momentum, because once they have their momentum, you're going to be in for a ride. Okay, you're no longer in control. And well, the stronger your desire is, the more difficult it's gonna become, and that is something you definitely want to avoid. I mean, difficulties can be very efficient teachers. I've experienced it myself, but do you really want to go down that path? Up to you. The third problem I see on retreats is the dynamic that a retreat has. So, coming into the retreat, you have a lot of adrenaline, you're very excited, you've probably been waiting for this for a long time. So you're really there. You're fully, you're buzzing, and so of course you're going in and you're maybe have some high expectations as well. So you're really looking forward to this experience. So you're coming in like on a high, and then after maybe half of the first day, that high is gonna start to curve down. And by the end of the first day, you're gonna be facing reality. Okay, your body's gonna ache. Your meditation isn't gonna be what you expected it to be. The the surrounding might be more challenging than you thought it might be. You'd be hungry. You'd be tired. You'd be aching. Maybe people sneezing and coughing in the meditation hall. You're used to meditating in a quiet environment. Uh, so that you're gonna get a reality check very quickly, and that curve's gonna go down, and it's gonna stay down on the second day for most people, and it's gonna start to go back up on the third day. It's usually around day three where most meditators, if they're successful with the practice, if they stick to what they're being taught, and they're continuously letting go and returning to the practice when the mind wanders off, become aware of what's going on and bring it back. If you keep doing that, around day three, you are going to have success with the meditation. Your meditation is going to gain momentum, and you're going to have a lot of people have what we call a breakthrough. And this breakthrough will manifest in ways that all of a sudden the meditations are going to be a lot easier. You're not struggling so much with the posture, with the discomfort of sitting. Your concentration is going to develop to a level where you can maintain your awareness that is focused on an object of observation for a prolonged period of time, which reduces the amount of times where you have to bring it back, which reduces the frustration that also brings with it. And you're gonna experience a certain lightness. You're gonna experience a certain euphoria. Oh, it's starting to work, and you might have some first insights. And for the first time, maybe after 3 days, you might be thinking, "Oh, I can do this," or "Oh, I can start to see the benefits." Where against the first 2, 3 days, you were thinking, "Oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this? Why did I come here in the first place? What was I thinking?" You're going to have all kinds of negative thoughts. On day three, this is going to shift. It can shift very quickly into some very positive thoughts. Okay, then that dynamic is gonna carry you through day three, maybe into the beginning of day four, and then that dynamic is gonna flip into the opposite again. Okay, so it's always, you have to look at it at a Vipassana retreat. Rarely ever, there are always exceptions, but it's rarely ever a continuous smooth ride. It's always a roller coaster. Okay, if you know that, that helps in itself a lot. Okay, the moment you're up, you know that you're gonna be down again, and when you're down for a while, you know it's gonna get better again. So around day 4 and 5, you're gonna dip down low, and you're gonna be, "Oh, what happened? I've lost my meditation. I've had it. It was so beautiful. I've had all these." Maybe you've had a lot of physical, positive physical phenomena unfolding. Maybe you've had a different perception of reality. Maybe your senses were heightened. Your mind has become calmer, so there's a clearer, more consistent view upon this existence of a physical body that's in symbiosis with the mind, navigating this three-dimensional reality, the overall busyness of your mind is getting less, so you're a lot more relaxed, and the distractions are all gone, and you can really focus in on more subtle layers of experience. And of course, that in itself will create a certain euphoria, okay, and that euphoria will peak, and then it will go down on day 4 and 5, and then you won't understand why, because it doesn't make any sense. Okay, you thought you had it, you've worked so hard over the first couple of days, all of a sudden it paid out, you're proud of yourself, this is it, you've made it, amazing, and before you know it, it's gone. Okay, so this is normal. I can predict that. I watch people go through this process. I know exactly what's going to happen. And I know exactly what they're going to tell me when they come in for an interview on these kind of days. And I already know what I have to tell them before they even told me what their problem is, because the pattern is the same for everyone. If you're doing the practice as you're being told, then it's very predictable. So you can prepare yourself for this. And then after that low where you're struggling again, now you're in the pain, in the fatigue. Here you're gonna really hit a wall maybe with your expectations. You're gonna question your abilities again. You're gonna question the technique. You're gonna get really upset with people around you, because by now you know them, and there's people that annoy you. There's somebody who maybe constantly moves, or maybe there's a problem with the roommate, or maybe there's a problem with the food. Whatever it is, these things are not the problem, obviously. You are the problem, but you can't see that in that moment. You're just going to blame everyone, and if that's the nature of your character, or you're going to blame yourself, which is even worse, because then, you're going to think about leaving. So these times can get pretty difficult. And then, if you make it through that, you're gonna come to the next high, which is around day 6 or 7. Usually day 7, you're gonna get really deep again. And now, of course, because you've been going through a lot of the practice, that deep might be just your best day on the retreat, and you might have some major insights on that day, usually around day 7. For most people. And then the last 2 days, because the end coming, your mind's gonna wander off to the end of the retreat. You might have experienced enough positive and negative insights or suffering to call it a retreat. At that point, you'd be like, oh, you have plenty of experience now to look back upon and to work with in the future. So you're already slacking off maybe a little bit. It depends on your character. But again, the last 2 days mostly are more like a middle thing for most people. Okay, so that's the dynamic of the retreat. Understand that. Okay, be aware of it. When it happens, know what's happening, and know that it's going to change. Your job is not to fight it. Your job is not to get involved in the roller coaster. Okay? Your job is just to watch. Treat it as that. Okay, oh, this is what I've heard about this. Now I'm all the way at the top. Okay, cool. And now, oh, here we go. Now I'm having a bad day. Okay, you're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have good days. Bad days. It's gonna go like that. Okay, just know that, and don't let that overwhelm you. It's not, it's not a bad thing. It's the nature of a retreat like that. Look at it that way. Okay, so it's normal. Don't expect that it's gonna be a linear development. Don't expect that it's gonna go exponential. Of course, if you have big expectations, that's what you're gonna hope. You're gonna pick up, and boom, by the end you might be enlightened. I have yet to witness anybody becoming enlightened on a retreat, and I've I've seen hundreds of people go through retreats. So that's an unrealistic expectation. One of them you should let go right away if you find that somewhere in your subconscious or even conscious. So these ups and downs, I want to talk about some more. That would be point 4 and 5 if we start to categorize these ups and downs. And what you need to know is how they manifest, and that you should not indulge in them. You should not feed them. Okay? What's going to happen? Let's say if you are going up and let's say you're a creative person. Okay, now you're not going to be able to do any journaling or write anything down on a Vipassana retreat. You know, you're not supposed to document anything. You don't have any pen or book. You should have handed all of that in. Shouldn't have any of that. But usually what happens to, let's say, creative people, once it goes up, I mean, they reach an entire different level of clarity and creativity. And that in itself would be like the breakthrough experience, the thing that is unbelievable. Like, wow, I've achieved it, and now I have all these ideas, I have these visions, I have these concepts, and I see it so clearly. Maybe you're a writer and the story unfolds, or maybe you're a visual artist and you would just love to paint, and you've got all this inspiration, all these ideas, and they come with such clarity and such beauty, and you just want to capture them, you want to write them down. And of course, being passionate about your creativity, you're going to want to hold on to it. And you're, oh my God, I can't write these things down. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to mentally rehearse what's going on, the insights, the experience that you have that's so positive, that's so mind blowing, so that you convince yourself that you're not going to forget it throughout the retreat. And that you're going to hold on to it like this precious gem that you've achieved to find, and you're going to carry it through the whole retreat till the last day when you finally get the opportunity, your phone or a piece of paper or whatever it is, so you can write these things down and keep them, yeah, because they're precious to you. If you don't even have to be a creative person, you might have things happen to you, like, you're gonna walk outside and it's as if you see things in high definition for the first time, as if you see colors that you haven't seen before. You hear things in this omnipresence, like all of a sudden you hear it all. You hear the insects and the birds and the wind, and you hear the leaves in the trees whisper, and your footsteps, and everything is just so beautiful and perfect, and it's just overwhelming. It's as if you're stepping into a 3D cinema for the first time, and you're still a child, and you couldn't even begin to imagine that a sensory experience can be so beautiful and fulfilling and overwhelming. So all you want to do is just indulge, and you're going to walk around and you're going to look at the sparkling of the dew on a leaf. Or I remember I on my first retreat, I had that moment, and I was watching these ants walk on a little wall, and they were like fire ants. There were these red ants. It was in Thailand. They were quite big, and I was just fascinated by these little organisms and how organized they were, and how they were working together, and how beautiful they were. And then I would put my finger there, and the ants would react obviously to my finger, and they would get up on their back legs, and they would try to fight my finger, and I thought it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. So I was sitting there and giggling, and I had a friend with me, which is generally a bad idea to bring a friend on a Vipassana retreat. But I had a friend with me who's close by, and he was also on that peak. It was day three, and he came over and had a look. And although we were still maintaining noble silence, but we were looking at each other, and it was just the high gets so high that you start to no longer care about the technique and the rules, and inevitably you are going to ruin your meditation. And if you stop doing the technique because you're so busy indulging in all this beauty that's unfolding in front of you all of a sudden, um, that that crash that comes afterwards, that ride down into the valley is going to become more extreme. So, your job as a meditator on a retreat would be to understand, oh, yes, okay, here's a phenomena unfolding. I've heard about this. Everything seems amazing. Everything seems great. I want to hold on to it. I want to indulge in it. I want to, I'm fascinated by it. It's giving me the most amazing feeling I've ever had, maybe in my entire life. I never felt so alive and engaged with life and reality and my surrounding and this physical experience, a sensory experience. But you need to understand that in comparison to what the practice will open up to, if you stay focused and neutral, which is very difficult because you might want to stay neutral to something that's negative, obviously, because you don't want to indulge in something that's negative. But something positive, isn't that what it's all about? Aren't things supposed to get better by going to a retreat like this? So you have to understand that even the positive, you need to remain neutral and equanimous. And don't indulge. No matter how tempting it might be, don't try to hold on to it. Don't try to prolong that experience. Don't try to get into the more subtle aspects of that sensory experience that's unfolding when you come out of a meditation. Because you're going to interrupt your meditation. You're going to interrupt the continuity, something we're going to speak about in a minute. And by interrupting that, it's going to wear off. And you're going to lose out on the opportunity to gain something that is much more valuable than a sensual pleasure or a creative spark. Because if you start to see reality as it really is, and with that, I mean, let go of the ideas and the concepts and the beliefs that you've been conditioned into believing, and through which you look at reality like through a kaleidoscope that distorts reality, so that you don't even have the chance to see it as it is, and you're constantly chasing an idea of something, an interpretation based on a very limited and often completely false amount of data, which has either been passed on to you or you're collecting through your senses. Either way, it's limited and often false, or at least not accurate. If you could manage to break through that veil of delusion and ignorance and misconception of reality, and make that a truly present experience that you can recreate in your life without expecting what it is exactly that you're going to discover. A real insight, a real penetration of the deeper layers of your existence, that in itself will be the foundation for results in your life on a creative level, on an experiential level, on a health level, on a relationship level, on a service level, how you can become a better member of society, a better human being, a happier human being. Your problems are just going to fall away. You're going to have all this energy to invest in truly engaging in reality, with reality as it is, and the outcome of that is going to be way beyond anything that you can possibly imagine, and certainly way beyond anything that you're experiencing as the first side effects of penetrating the deeper layers and letting go of the ideas and concepts and beliefs that have been blinding you to what's truly going on within you and around you. So, you need to, although it's very tempting, okay, to indulge in these first positive experiences, you need to be aware that that's not the goal. Although it might seem like it, because it might seem better than anything you've experienced in a long time, but that is not the goal. The goal is something much bigger than that. And if you can manage to not indulge in these first positive experiences, these highs, and just keep focused on the technique and just let go of everything positive and don't let it tempt you all the time, then the chances for you to experience something much bigger than that at the end and after the retreat are going to be much bigger. Okay, so that's really important. And also, you're going to level out that roller coaster. That's going to become a little bit easier because it's going to become emotionally very draining, because you're going to go up and inevitably you're going to go down. Okay, I guarantee you. You don't just go up and stay up. Okay, everybody goes back down. So that's the other part of it. Okay, we need to look at that. What about the pain and the frustration? What if you're not up there right now? You're all the way down at the bottom. How are you going to deal with that? Okay, so again, if it's on a mental basis, if it's negative thoughts, the way to do it is not to fuel them by thinking more and more. Again, it's all about letting go. It's like, okay, I can see the negativity in myself. I can see how I'm judging constantly. I can see how I'm blaming. I can see how I'm making a huge deal out of this and that and these small aspects. All of a sudden, yesterday I didn't even see it, and today it's the biggest problem. This voice in your head that is going to try to justify the negativity of the experience. You need to become aware of that. And just like you wouldn't indulge in the pleasure, you don't indulge in the frustration. Okay? Or the jealousy. Or somebody else might have a great experience next to you and you're like suffering, and then you're terribly jealous. These negative mind states, you really don't want to fuel them. Every thought that you think just fuels into these things. So you really want to become aware of your mental state and your physical state. Now, the physical aspect of suffering on a Vipassana retreat is essential and unavoidable. You are going to suffer on a physical level. Most people suffer in their knees, in their feet, in their hips, in their back, in their neck, shoulders, head. So it's that you're gonna the whole body is gonna be in one way or another suffer. It's gonna be affected by pain, and it's gonna be serious pain. And depending on which retreat you're in, if you're going to a Goenka retreat, they have this thing called the strong determination sit, where you're asked to, I think it's around the middle of the retreat or so, you're asked to not move at all and deal with the pain. On my retreats, I do it a little bit different. I don't do strong determination sits, but we address the same issue. We address the equanimity, the ability to remain the neutral observer no matter what. It's just in a different way. But really, the key to deal with pain, when pain arises, I mean, there's two aspects, there's two levels of it. So there'll be a discomfort happening. And if you feel discomfort, physical discomfort and also mental. This works for both. What you want to do is you want to become aware of it, and you want to give it some love. Okay? You need to be gentle with yourself. You have to treat yourself as if you were a little child. Treat your body as if it were a little child. So there is a general discomfort in the knees, and you're aware of that, and it's starting to disturb your ability to concentrate on your object of meditation. You give it some love. You can speak with your body, not out loud, but in your mind. Just give it a brief, hi, I can see you're having a hard time. It's okay. I love you. You're doing an amazing job. I'm so grateful that you are with me in this experience, and everything's going to be all right. This too will pass, and I'm with you, and I love you, and I'm so grateful that we're going through this together. I'm so grateful for the sacrifice you are giving me in this moment, because the suffering is physical. And the body is resisting. So, see it like a little child, like a friend, and give it love. And you will see, if you speak to the area, to that knee, for example, that is starting to cause discomfort, if you speak to it with love and appreciation, and you support it, and you give it some gratitude that it's suffering for your experience right now, and that it will be okay, you'll see that it will lighten things up. Okay, so a lot of the pain that is happening on a Vipassana retreat is not because something's wrong with your body. There's nothing wrong with your body, just because it's sitting there. The thing that the body doesn't like is that it's not being moved. So, and the way the body speaks to you, because the body wants to move constantly, and the way the body speaks to you is by giving you an ache. It says, "Hey, come on, let's move. This is getting a bit boring," and a body doesn't like to be completely still unless it's sleeping. But in that state, awake state, it wants to move, and so it's gonna start to give you physical sensations that are gonna motivate you to move. But there's nothing wrong with your knee. It's not injured. It's not hurt. And of course, if you don't move, that pain is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And although you might be talking to it and giving it some love, it might get a little bit better. And then after a while, it's going to get worse again. It's going to come and go. And so when things get really bad and you think like you can't handle it anymore, you have to move. Well, first of all, in my opinion, unless you're in a Goenka retreat where you're committing to the strong determination sit, there's absolutely nothing wrong with moving. Okay? If you're in pain and the pain is so strong that it is keeping you from meditating properly, then move. I did that in the beginning. I couldn't sit on my first retreats. I mean, I could sit. Right now I'm sitting in a half lotus. My right foot is on my left thigh, and my left foot is tucked underneath my right thigh. And the classic posture the Buddha sits in as well. I could sit in that, but not for long. 10-15 minutes and it became unbearable. So what I would do is I would just switch. Yeah, you can unfold your legs, bring one leg to the side and the other one stays in front. Sit like that for 10 minutes, then bring the other leg to the side and the other one to the front, and sit like that for 10 minutes. And that's how you get through the session. Now, of course, there's certain aspects that you need to consider. You don't just move because you don't care. Oh, like, I don't care, I'm just going to move. No, you have to be mindful about what you're doing. You have to be mindful that the pain is becoming so strong that you can no longer concentrate on your object. And you have to be mindful that there is an intention to relieve yourself from that pain, and that intention is going to trigger a motion of the body, a moving of the body. You remain mindful and you give it all of your attention. And then you say, okay, there's an intention to move, and then you start moving, and then you feel the movement, and you put all of your mindfulness on the sensations as you move, and you put your mindfulness on the sensation of the pain and how it starts to go away as you move. And you do all of this very slowly and quietly so you don't interrupt the meditation or disturb the people around you. And then you come into your new posture, and then you observe mindfully how that has changed your sensations in your knee. And then you come back to the object, which is your breath or whatever it is. Body scan, depends on what you do. And then slowly the pain will build up again, and then you do the same thing again. You can move without interrupting your meditation, which is the goal. Okay, if you decide to move, then do it mindfully. And that way you can get through a session, and without interrupting your practice, which is continuity. We're going to get to continuity in a little bit. I've mentioned it already 2 or 3 times now. Super, super, super important. We're going to go there in a minute. The next step, if you don't, well, you've tried love, you've tried moving, now you really want to know it, okay? This is something my teacher always used to name, this is something for spiritual warriors. And this is something they will teach you on a Vipassana retreat, but they might teach this. I usually teach this around day 4, day 5. But if you're having real difficulties in the first couple of days and you really want to go for it, you can do this if you're familiar with the technique. And what it is really is you are going to, instead of reacting to pain how you're used to it by, taking your attention away from it, distracting yourself with something else, or moving so that the pain stops, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to take your awareness and you're going to put it right in there. So if your knee is aching and it's throbbing and it's extremely painful and it feels like somebody's put a knife into it, instead of reacting to it, you're going to take your attention away from your object of meditation and you're going to stick it right into that knee, and you're going to go right into the sensation of the pain. And usually we don't even know what pain really feels like. All we know that it's extremely discomforting and that we want it to end. And so we distract ourselves, we take painkillers, we change posture, we move, or we rub it, or do anything to relieve the extreme sensation. In this case, we do the opposite. We leave everything as it is and we go straight into the sensation and really try to see if you can penetrate the experience. What's happening exactly? What does it feel like? Where is it exactly? Can you pinpoint it exactly? It's not just the knee. Where exactly within the knee is this sensation at its strongest? And what you'll find already here, and this is just the beginning of it, you might not be able to really pinpoint it. It might move, or you might find it that it's right on this end of the knee, and all of a sudden it's over here. And then you go, okay, no, it's here, and then you go here, and then maybe it's over here. It plays hide and seek with you, okay? It's a very funny thing once you really get into it. It takes strong determination because obviously your mind has been trained to react with aversion. And what you're doing now is you're reacting with curiosity. Okay, you're confronting the problem instead of trying to turn away from it. That's not what the mind is used to. So what we're doing with this exercise is we're reprogramming the mind. We're reprogramming what the mind, how the mind reacts, with what kind of an emotional state it reacts, the aversion. And so we're going to go in there, and then we're going to try to find it, and then we're going to try to find exactly what it feels like. Is it a pulsing? Is it a tingling? Is it a stinging? Is it a throbbing? Is it a pressure? Does it feel like heat, or does it feel like cold? What is it exactly? And then once you get these more defined labels for the sensation, you go into that. Okay, so maybe it's a stinging, or maybe it's a throbbing. Well, what kind of throbbing? What does it exactly feel like? And you get deeper and deeper and deeper into that sensation, and you don't let it go. You don't stop. You just get into it with all of your determination and all of your concentration. And what's going to happen at a certain point is that the experience, the sensory experience that your mind is creating through the deeper levels of awareness with which it's penetrating the pain, is going to abstract the experience to what you're used to. It's going to make it so different. It's going to make it feel so different that your mind no longer associates the sensation with pain. And when that happens, boom, there's a separation. There's no longer an identification called suffering. So there is still a sensation that is present, it's very strong, but you are no longer identified with that as someone who's suffering from it. So yes, you could call it, there's still pain, you could say, although words have become a little bit useless when you come into this kind of level of consciousness. But the pain is no longer connected to suffering. The identification process is separate. And you become the observer of natural phenomenon, which you have not been conditioned to interpret as positive or negative. And when that happens, something magical happens. Because you've overcome something that you thought you couldn't overcome. It's changed in front of your own eyes. Okay? Starting to see it for what it really is, not what you've been trained and conditioned to what it is. Because obviously, that aversion that is taking place in your mind when pain is present in your body is strongly connected to survival instincts. So it suits its need. It has a purpose within the system, within the biological, organic manifestation of this consciousness in a three-dimensional realm, which is quite hostile, you know. So it serves a very, very functional purpose. But that purpose is an interpretation to survive. And it's not the reality of things. Because the reality is there's nothing wrong with that moment. It's just using a language that you don't know how to interpret in any other way than calling it pain and becoming the one who suffers. And if you penetrate it deep enough to abstract it to a level where that association no longer takes place, you're free. And it becomes a model. It becomes an experience of such severe magnitude that it will change your perception of reality. And that's called an insight. Okay, that's what you're really going for. So this is just one aspect of how to deal with pain, and to take the caps off everything, to level things out. Okay, so we've been looking at the highs and the lows, and you don't want to engage in either of them. The lows, engaging in them means to react as you usually do through aversion, that just fuels it to make it worse, and the positive by trying to hold on, by clinging, and that makes it also counterproductive for your meditation. That brings us to the next point, and that is continuity and equanimity. Now, these two aspects can become some of your best helpers and some of your best friends on a Vipassana retreat. Really, it's one of the most important aspects of a successful retreat. My teacher used to always say, there's on the Vipassana retreat, the teachers talk a lot. Probably 2 hours a day. There's a lot of information, and every word is important, and you can't keep it all in your mind. You don't have anything to write down, and things happen quickly, and it's impossible to remember everything that the teacher will tell you on a retreat. So my teacher always said, if you remember anything, if you just remember one thing that I've been talking about on this entire retreat, it's these three aspects, how you can categorize a successful mindful practice. And that is, number one, you have to bring your attention into the present moment. Okay, you have to be in the here and now with your awareness. And number two is that awareness needs to be directed inwards. So we're not interested in what's happening around us in the present moment experience. We're just interested in what's happening within us on a mental and a physical level. And number three is to keep the first and the second aspect, being in the present moment and directing it inwards, up and running for as long as possible. So a continuity. You have to be continuous with that effort. And really, what it's like is as if you're trying to start a fire with a stick. If you've ever done that, you probably learned pretty quickly that it's not an easy thing to do. You have to rub this stick onto another stick, and it's going to hurt your hands, and you have to rub very fast and hard, and you have to rub for a long time before you get the first results, maybe a little bit of smoke and so forth. And if you were to rub for 5 minutes and then stop for 5 minutes because you're getting lazy, or because it hurts too much, or because you want to do something else in between, and then you come back and then you rub again for 5 minutes, and then you stop again for 5 minutes, you're never going to get a fire going. Never, ever. It's just not going to happen. You can rub for the rest of your life, and you're just going to wear yourself out and get frustrated. Whereas if you just keep rubbing no matter what, sooner or later the friction is going to reach a level where you could actually get a fire started. Obviously, there's a little bit more technique to it, but that's the idea behind the Vipassana retreat, and it really highlights the importance of continuity. And if you are not continuous with your practice on a Vipassana retreat, which means if you're not constantly directing your awareness into the present moment experience, and directing that attention inwards to observe the mental and the physical phenomena unfolding in the present moment experience, and if you're not trying to do that from a neutral point of view, you are going to you're gonna be on a ride. You're gonna go up and down. It's gonna fluctuate, and it's gonna wear you out, and the experience is gonna be frustrating. So one of the major goals for a teacher on a Vipassana retreat is to really get the students to become continuous, and continuity. It's difficult if you're in a formal meditation session, or you're sitting on the floor and you're trying to be present and observe. And it's also difficult when you're not quite as difficult, but also still difficult when you're doing walking meditation. But it gets very difficult in between the meditation sessions. What happens when you are getting up from your meditation and you're walking to the dining hall? Or what happens when you're going to the toilet? What happens when you're in the shower? What happens when you're getting dressed? All these little segments in between the formal meditation. What happens while you're eating and so forth? Are you still present in those moments? And the answer for most meditators on a retreat like this is no, they're not. Because they think that 10 hours or 11 hours of formal meditation is plenty, is more than enough. So why not just relax in between? Go for a walk and let the mind wander about this and that and what I need to do when I come out and so forth. And that's going to rock your boat. It's going to make it difficult. It's going to make it emotionally draining. Really, what your goal should be as a meditator participating in a Vipassana retreat is from the first moment till the last to really try to commit to continuity. Continuity keeps you in the present moment. It connects each moment of awareness with each other. And if you connect these moments of awareness, and you're just present in the moment, you don't have the time to think about the future or the past. You don't have the time to really indulge in pain or feed a pleasant experience. It's just constantly letting go. What else is there? Letting go. What else is there? Letting go. What else is there? That's what continuity is. And if you can maintain that, not only will you get much better results, because that's really the key to very deep insights, but the roller coaster ride will soften. Okay, it's just gonna become less difficult. It's a very pragmatic thing. Okay, so really, again, I was talking about expectations in the beginning. Those should be the only expectations you have: to be in the present moment, to direct your awareness inwards, and to be continuous. It's so important, like constantly. In the old scriptures, in the Pali texts, awareness is called sati. And in the old scriptures, sati was often also translated not just as mindfulness or awareness, but also as remembering. So your goal as a meditator, which will make your life so much easier on a retreat, is to constantly remember what you're here for. And that is to be in the present moment and to be curious. What's there? What's there? Focus. What's there? I used to do some they're not meditation retreats. I used to do plant-based retreats in South America, in the Amazon, and these ceremonies take place at night, and you're under the influence of plants. And there was this facilitator, and he would always sit next to me, and he would always whisper into my ear, and he would say, concentrate. What's happening right now? And that's really the attitude. That's the continuity, the focus on the present moment experience within you. What's happening right now? Every single moment, to remember, to not to slack off and say, okay, no, I've been doing this really well for 45 minutes. Now I'm just gonna relax a little bit and just walk around and cut myself some slack. I've really deserved it. The moment of the retreat itself, every single moment is so precious, so precious. And you've been slacking off your entire life. Just make an effort to be continuous in the present moment experience on a retreat as much as possible. It will make it easier and it will give you better results. And the other thing is equanimity. Now, equanimity is such a magical aspect. If you can manage to keep that up, continuity and equanimity, you are bound to experience life-changing results. Equanimity is just to be okay with whatever is, knowing that everything is subject to change and that everything will pass. And no matter if it's amazing or devastating, you just sit there like in the eye of the storm. You maintain the position of the neutral observer and you just tell yourself, okay, so what? Oh, this is amazing, yeah. So what? What else is there? Oh, this is terrible, I hate this. Yeah, so what? What else is there? How long is it terrible? Let's watch. Oh, then it goes away. Oh, look. It wasn't terrible forever. Oh, how long is it amazing? Well, let's watch. Oh, it's not going to be amazing forever. If you don't feed it, it's going to go. It's going to pass really quickly. And your job is to remain equanimous. Okay, so what? This sentence, so what? I've used that a lot in retreats for myself. Something comes up that I can't just let go, that's sort of hooking my attention, and it keeps coming back to that. So what? Yeah, but no, but. So what? Let it go. What else is there? What else is there? What else is there? Equanimous. Continuously equanimous. If you can manage that, your ride will be smoother. It won't be linear, okay? But it won't also just wear you out. It'll be smoother and you are bound for success, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, the next point is other people on a retreat. Obviously, you are going to be in a group which has all kinds of beautiful benefits. To meditate in a group, and especially in a setting of a Vipassana retreat, is for most people a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's just packed with positive aspects. But just like with everything in life, there's also the opposite. And, being in a group can also become a hindrance. And what I've watched a lot on retreats and experienced myself more than plenty is that you're going to start to compare yourself to other people. Now, on a Vipassana retreat, you are going to enter what's called noble silence. You're going to be asked to maintain that noble silence throughout the entire retreat, and it has a lot of positive aspects that I don't want to get into. It's too much, but I want to highlight the facets of what that actually means, noble silence, because a lot of people think that noble silence is just means not to speak. But it means so much more than that. It means not to communicate, not to exchange anything. So it's a difficult subject matter. But if you're in a group and you completely ignore everyone, it can become a little bit weird. But really, that's what you should be doing. If you really want to go for it, if you want to get the most out of it, you shouldn't even be looking at anyone. And the reason for that is not, if somebody doesn't even look at you, ignores you basically, then your first initial emotional reaction would be that of wondering, why, what's going on, what did I do wrong, do they not like me, are they arrogant, are they not aware of me, these kind of things, negative associations, and they're habitual. So even though you know that it has nothing to do with you, if somebody doesn't look at you on a retreat or you don't look at other people, you might think that's unpolite, and it will occupy your mind, and immediately you've lost your continuity, you lost your equanimity, and you're off into chatterbox, and of course that's not where you want to be on a retreat. So that is a habitual thing. You're used to that, and that's not gonna just change from one day to the next, or from 1 hour to another. So you have to become aware of that and just accept that as something that you can watch again, from a neutral point of view, and be like, oh yeah, that's that. Okay, so but what else? But really, it's so important, because what's going to happen if you start to just look at people is that you're going to inevitably compare yourself to others. And there's going to be someone who sits like a statue, and you're going to have problems because you're maybe changing your posture 3 4 times, and you're struggling with a lot of discomfort. And that person, you're going to become obsessed with looking at that person, and you're going to find yourself being jealous, and you're gonna think, oh, I wish I could be like that, and then you're gonna look at yourself like a failure, and it's gonna have a huge impact on the effort that you're bringing forth with the meditation. You're gonna question your ability to get proper results, or maybe even if you can make it through a retreat. It can go as far as you want it to. Just little tiny little things are gonna spark a narrative that will create a huge drama, and out of nothing, out of thin air, and simply because your mind is going to, it's starved for narrative, and it's gonna try to create something out of nothing with everything. And that's the main reason why there's so many rules on the Vipassana retreat, which puts a lot of people off, or makes it look a little bit sectarian, which it's absolutely not. But other people, it's a big issue. As soon as you start to compare yourself with others, you get into problems. As soon as other people start to annoy you, you're gonna get into problems. The worst thing you can do if somebody annoys you is to break silence, obviously. Or maybe if you don't break silence, you gesture. Like somebody is constantly making noise in the meditation hall, and then you try to catch their eye, and when they do look over in your direction, like, things like that. That's terrible. You don't want to do that. It's gonna ruin your experience. So really, what you want to do is you want to not even look at people. You're not interested in other people. That's a very difficult thing to do, because it's a funky experience to be in a group where nobody talks with each other, and it's a very intimate experience that you're going through with these group of people, and there are always very strong bonds that are created on a Vipassana retreat. I have always had strong bonds with people, although you didn't talk to them, and I can see it with the students, and I know so many students that have become best friends after retreat. So it's a very intimate experience that you're sharing with people, and yet at the same time you're supposed to completely ignore everyone. It is essential that you do that as good as possible, even if it seems rude or difficult or exaggerated. You will experience, if you start to engage with others just by looking or maybe even gesturing, that it's gonna ruin your retreat. And before you know it, you're gonna exchange little notes, or maybe even break silence. And it just depends on how the situation unfolds. And but the possibilities will be endless if you start to engage with other people. So don't compare yourself. This is so important. It's not about the others. That's a mindset that you have to establish going into the retreat, and really maintain no matter what. Again, you have to become equanimous. So okay, so somebody's loud over there, and that person is annoying you. Instead of stopping to meditate, and having a look at what's going on, and then your mind will start to say things like, how dare them, how dare he's so loud, doesn't he realize that he's disrupting everybody's concentration, and he's so ignorant, and why isn't anybody saying anything, and so forth. You're gonna get into a very difficult mental loop, and that's just going to ruin your entire day, or maybe even a few days. So don't do that. What you can do is, if there is actual disturbance with other people, like somebody's making a sound next to you, for example, then instead of trying to avoid that sound and being like, oh, I wish I was sitting in a different part of the meditation hall. When I sit at home, it's always so nice and quiet, and now here I can't concentrate. You can make that disturbance part of your meditation. Okay, you can just say, okay, now there's sound. You might learn something depending on which retreat you go on to, but you might learn something like guarding the six sense doors and labeling, and you can use that for to shift from the object of your meditation, which is maybe the breath in that moment, and you're trying to stay with the breath, and then that sound is distracting you, and you would take your attention away from the breath, deliberately put it on what's distracting you, label what's distracting you, and then come back to yourself and which part of your mind, your emotional state, is responding to this distraction. So, okay, there's aversion, and then there's visualization, maybe. Okay, visualizing going over there and, giving him a push, or you're visualizing making a gesture, or you're visualizing, or maybe you're thinking through something you might want to say to that person. So there's rehearsing going on. So, as long as you remain aware of what's happening within you, even if it's disturbing and negative, you're still meditating, and you are learning a whole lot about yourself. You're seeing patterns arise, you're seeing this impulsive tendency to react arise, which is responsible for so many problems in our lives. And that those are really valuable insights that you gain just by staying equanimous. In a way, there is that part of you that is has an aversion against what's happening, but there is also that part that is keeping the distance to that aversion, and being able to look at it from a neutral point of view and be, oh, look, there's aversion. Okay, so what? So what? There's aversion. What else is there? So you remain in the meditation. You're still practicing. So that's really important when it comes down to other people. Another thing that causes people a lot of difficulties on a vipassana retreat is that they get sleepy, they get drowsy, they get tired, and usually you don't. Well, let's say you get less sleep on a vipassana retreat. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the meditations end at 9. And then maybe by the time you go to bed, because you still had a shower or brushed your teeth and these things, you're moving very slowly because you want to remain continuous with your practice. So everything you do, you're doing very slow. It's 10 o'clock. And so, you're left with 6 hours of sleep, and then maybe you can't fall asleep right away, so maybe you just get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and in your mind, you're thinking that that's too little, especially because you may be quite exhausted from the first couple of days, where the effort to remain concentrated is takes a lot of energy, mental energy. And so, you become very sensitive towards how much you sleep, and maybe your roommate is snoring, so that it gets a little bit difficult. And then obviously maybe throughout the day, you would just love to lie down. You get really tired come afternoon, you're exhausted, your body is aching, and you just want to lie down. You're just fantasizing about a soft bed. Usually, what happens in those moments is actually that you're not so much tired, physically exhausted, maybe yes, but what happens is that you've gotten into a rhythm of practice which is no longer at a level of concentration that keeps you alert. You've sort of dulled down into this like repetitive loop of maybe you're labeling the in and the out, or warmth, or coolness, or expansion and contraction. Maybe you have some labeling words that you're using for the observation of your breath, and the whole thing has become very redundant, and you're not really trying to penetrate deeper layers of perception. You're just basically, it's just running on autopilot, and that's when most people get tired. So when you get tired and you get sleepy throughout the day during meditation, that's a pretty sure indication that you're not really focused. And if you make an effort to really focus again and to really try to see what it is that you're observing, and how you can get into deeper levels of perception and more subtle experiences of observation, then you will see that that sleepiness will go away very quickly. But of course, the physical exhaustion of sitting for long periods of time in a position that you might not be used to from your everyday life, that is of course, it's a valid problem. And so I recommend for those times of the day, usually after lunch, there's a little bit of a longer break where you can do something, and a lot of people use that time to go for a walk. Some retreats have chores, and then you have to do chores. So what I always used to do, and I recommend, is, you know, try to get the chore done mindfully, but relatively efficiently. And then don't spend too much time wandering around or sitting or looking at this or that. Just go to your room and lie down. Get a little bit of a rest. That's okay. If you can't really concentrate throughout the day, and you know, it's just you're mentally exhausted, and you notice that you're dozing off, you know, you can always just get up, go outside. Looking into the sunlight helps. Taking a couple of deeper breaths helps. Don't do this in the meditation hall, you might disturb others, but you know, if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to leave the meditation hall, go before you fall asleep. It's better to go. Splash some water in your face, go to the toilet, take a couple of deep breaths, go outside, look at the sun, breathe, make a determination. You're going to go back in, and you're going to really try to find more subtle layers, and you're going to really try to focus in on more subtle experiences, and build up that concentration again. And when the concentration builds up, the sleepiness will go away. You'd be surprised how fast the sleepiness can go away. Often also, if people get sleepy when they get too comfortable, you know, people sometimes they build themselves little nests, um, surrounded by pillows and blankets and all kinds of cushions, to make the sitting a little bit easier, and then that gets a little bit too comfortable, and then you get sleepy. Um, Leaning onto something, if you're sitting on a chair, don't lean back onto the backrest of a chair. That will definitely make you sleepy. Sit straight up without leaning against anything. That will help. Usually, if you sit, you can't fall asleep. I mean, I haven't seen anybody fall over and fall asleep in the meditation hall. That would be, I don't know, I just have never seen it. So be aware of what can help you. Be aware that it's a sure indication that you're not concentrating enough, that you've fallen into a repetitive loop. Um, and that should help you get through the drowsiness and the sleepiness. And if you can't sleep at night, don't worry. just remain mindful, remain in a meditative state, and stay equanimous. Whatever happens, happens. And if you don't get any sleep, you don't get any sleep. If you sleep, you sleep. It's okay. Whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you stay aware of what's happening, you're doing your job. Everything else is irrelevant. The other thing that I've noticed, and I've mentioned it a little bit in the beginning with the pain, is that you will notice that your attitude on the retreat will vary quite significantly. And what you want to do is you want to really become aware of what attitude you have. What kind of attitude are you going into the retreat, and what kind of attitude are you experiencing, and how is it changing throughout the retreat? And again, just like most things I've been talking about on this video, is that you want to level things out. And the ideal attitude that you want to have in the retreat is that of loving kindness towards yourself. Just like I mentioned in respect to the pain, how you can talk to your body, you can talk to yourself like that. It's quite efficient. And often people get frustrated because they have to bring their mind back. It wanders so much on the retreat, especially in the first half, and they get very frustrated. Oh, it's off again, and oh, well, now I've been planning again, and they get agitated, and they start blaming themselves, and they start doubting themselves. And especially in these times, you need to keep up, you need to make an effort to keep up an attitude of loving kindness towards yourself. It's like you're playing with a puppy. You wouldn't get upset with a puppy just because it's trying to play and seek out pleasure here and there. It's kind of cute, no? And you gently bring him back to whatever you want to train him to do. And you reward him. And the reward for you are the kind words you tell yourself. It's like, you're doing an amazing job. This is not easy, and you're doing it. It's incredible. And you're so patient. And it's okay that the mind wanders off. It's normal. Just your only job is to bring it back, and you're doing a wonderful job. Well done. You brought it back. Every time you bring it back, and you feel like, it's been gone again. No. That's the wrong attitude. The attitude should be, oh, good. You've noticed it was gone. Good. You've brought it back. Well done. You're doing an amazing job. You're doing something so special. And you're doing something that has the potential to change your entire life to the better. And it's not easy. It's by far, for most people who come to a retreat, one of the most difficult things they've ever done. But it also is one of the most rewarding things they've ever done. So keep that in mind, and how special it is, how wonderful, precious the opportunity is that you have to practice, and how amazing it is that you are at a level of consciousness to actually make the effort to come to a retreat and experience the possibility of transcending the levels of consciousness that you're in to higher levels. And give yourself love for that. Like that, you're so special. That's amazing. And nobody said it was going to be easy. Yes, it's difficult, and you're dealing with it. Amazing. Amazing. And you just tell yourself, oh, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. You're doing an amazing job. And keep that attitude alive. Check in with yourself on a constant level. Like, what kind of attitude do you have? That's really important. And then that brings us to the last point. And this last point is really, it's a game changer. If you've stuck around so far, congratulations. It's been a long talk. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but an hour and a half. So I've given you a lot of information, but if you're still around, this is the most valuable information probably. And that is that your thoughts create your reality. On a retreat like this, you have the unique ability, you're in the unique position to really examine how every thought creates a corresponding emotion and a physical response. And how that physical and emotional response to your thoughts is literally the only thing you have to evaluate reality. This is an insight that you can gain on a retreat like that. But even before you had the experiential insight, which will literally change your life forever, it will change everything. Radical transformation. It is so worth it to really seize the opportunity of a retreat like this and observe the causality and the effects, that cause and effect, that your thinking has, and how it literally creates your reality. And not just observe it, but also start to take on responsibility. Get in the driver's seat. You're not a passenger. You can observe a thought, and if it doesn't serve you, if you can see that it's a negative thought, cut it off and replace it with the opposite. Now, don't do this all the time, obviously. You're supposed to remain the observer. But do it whenever you see that it's taking you into one of the extreme directions, either into the extreme pleasure or into the extreme aversion. You treat both the same. Okay, don't just do this with the negative thoughts, also with the positive thoughts. Okay, see what kind of thoughts you're developing. See what kind of emotional, physical response they trigger. You're gonna have the sensibility to actually observe this on a retreat like this. This is one of the beautiful aspects of being on a retreat like this. And then make a deliberate decision to not go there. No, I'm not going there. Stop that thought and bring your awareness back to the object, and just see, by how you are controlling your thoughts, you're controlling your reality. You see, if you can do just that and maintain that for a while and make that into your second nature, into a habit, I can't even put into words how positive that would be for your life. The majority of your problems would just simply fall away, because the reality of the nature of your personal reality is that you are creating all of your problems. I'm just talking about you're creating everything, but the problems is what we want to get rid of, right? But you're creating all of your problems with your thoughts. What you think is what you get. Okay? So be aware of this. And if you can remain aware of that throughout the retreat, just constantly check in what's going on. Right now, okay, I've lost my thought. I've lost my meditation. I'm in thought. Well, what kind of thought? Oh, look. How do I feel? Oh, look. Okay. We're talking about the four foundations of mindfulness, the Satipatthana, which is really, would probably be a more accurate name for a Vipassana retreat than Vipassana. The Satipatthana are the foundations of mindfulness. The body, the emotions, the thoughts, and the mental objects, like ideas and concepts and beliefs. So, these are the foundation that you are going to use, and any one of them can bring you into insights. But just by focusing on the thoughts and just by becoming aware how they create your reality, you can, again, you can take the rocking out of the boat on a retreat. You know, if you get into a thought pattern where you're like negative and the food isn't good and I don't like it and this person is behaving in a way and my bed isn't comfortable and the guy in my room is showering, that is creating your reality. If you think like that, that's how the retreat is going to be. But you can stop those thoughts deliberately. You can use words like stop. No, stop. Deliberately understanding that they do not serve you. Stop. Make a break. Take the momentum out of the narrative and then come back to the object. This alone, if you can do that, that alone will make all the difference. Will get you through a retreat on a whole nother level. Okay? So, it's been a long video. I'm tired. It's pretty late. I think it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you for your attention if you're still here. I wish you all the best for your experience on the retreat. If you have any comments, if you want to give me any feedback, or if you want to share your experience, or if you have any additional advice on how to get through a retreat or what was difficult for you because you've been on a retreat, leave it in the comments, and all the best.